Good morning, my beautifuls, my brothers, my sisters, my star seeds, light workers, shadow walkers. On my walk this morning, I'm a little bit out of breath because I just chose to run for a bit. I was synchronistically looking, or not looking, I'm looking everywhere. I pay attention to my surroundings, but I was also listening to a channeled reading, beautiful little flowers, and I was resonating with everything she was saying about how there's this pathway to a door, and how for some it can feel scary, the inner knowing that you feel of what's coming, of what you're being called to, of what's been beckoning you, calling mysteriously from the shadows that we don't understand. 111 on the timer. And I know that in my own human ways, my own human form, just like anyone else, I can become caught up in comfortability and resistance. But that's not what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of not changing, not moving. Because I've come so far, I've built up the endurance and strength that these voices still echo, and they try to echo so loudly because in a way they served me, and they don't want to be forgotten. But they're not forgotten. They're never forgotten, only transmuted and let go through death, through release. Oh, my left, at 2:12 on the timer, my left earbud is falling out. Falling out right as I was saying that with releasing. With releasing, and it released like that. And when we really become conscious about how we want to live our life, when we question our worth, our self-love, our self-esteem, and what does that mean? What does that look like? What would that look like to me on a daily basis for me to align with that in the physical form, not just swirling in here or trapped in here? So when I heard that, when she said, when she was talking about this in the reading, in the messages, and that she could see a pathway and she could see a door, that's when I just began to run. Because I'm not afraid. I'm afraid of missing out on all that I feel. 333 on the timer. I'm afraid of missing out on the opportunities because I never, we don't miss out on things, okay? When what's meant to be for us will stay. But as I have become more awakened, and especially more in the beginning, where I realized that so many years of my life were spent not believing, not enjoying. And there's no shame, there's no guilt, there's no judgment, because we all are born into the density of not knowing and a perceived disconnection between us, ourselves, and the divine. As I'm standing in front of me, and I can show you there's a chain link fence, but you can see it, okay, right there, like right there in the brush, but it's overgrown. It's pushing it over. The walls that you have once put up within yourself, within your heart, are no longer serving. the growth, the seeds that you've planted, what God wants to bring you into your life. You cannot stop it. 505, you cannot stop it. So as I was walking initially up this bigger hill in order to come to this location, the synchronicities of the numbers 1010 were there, as well as 6161. And I've also been intuitively led to not wear my glasses. I realized that when taking them off and walking for just a bit of time, 544 on the timer, I realized how my perception shifted. When I began to continue to walk without them, it's like I became taller in my body, and I felt that shift. It feels like I'm taller than I was before, and that's when Spirit gave me the knowledge that these are all part of the matrix too. With the rest of our medical system and our government and all these other systems that want to provide limitations rather than freedom, rather than knowledge. Because when you look at the glasses, when you look at the lenses, they're concave. That's the right one. I don't remember the difference, concave or convex. I think concave is correct. Correct me if I'm wrong. But as you can imagine, that's going to create a fishbowl effect on your perception, to where you're really not perceiving you or yourself clearly at all. So I will no longer be wearing my glasses, only when I'm in absolute need, in order to strengthen and perceive myself correctly in the ways, the stature, the energy, the strength that I have. That's all I have for you right now. I love you. Blessed be.